Hello everybody, my name is Roy Johnson, and welcome to Week 4 of the Duosion Draft League, the DDL. I'm, of course, Roy Johnson, coach of the New York Toxicroaks, and today we're going to be facing off against the Disco Blacephalons, coached by DPPT Solar. I have definitely had experience with Solar. He's even helped me with mocks beforehand, even though we both know that we were eventually going to fight each other, and today's the day that we are going to have that battle. He's currently at a 3-0 winning streak. A 3-week winning streak. So it's going to be an interesting battle because I'm obviously 1-2, so this match will definitely make a difference of whether I get into playoffs or not, because definitely I need this win more than he needs this win. But regardless, his team is pretty strong. They have some very big threats in Great Tusk, Scizor, a bunch of other Pokemon. Their Rabombi could be annoying with Sticky Web. Overall, a very strong team. However, I have a plan. I have constructed a super crazy strategy that I think, if it works out, will give me the victory. And I think it's something that Disco Blacephalons will not expect me to go this route. I'll explain more as we get into talking about my team, but let me just say, the team I have assembled, while a bit unorthodox, maybe not containing some of my heavy hitters, will be interesting. Also of note, I am not bringing a Terra Captain this week. So with that being said, let's just cut to the chase and let's get into my team for this week. Starting things off, we have Samurai Jack, the King Gambit, making their 4th week in a row. I love using King Gambit, but unfortunately, King Gambit has not had the chance to shine as much as I would have liked to. But maybe this week will be the exception. Maybe he'll get a kill. I'm not putting my faith necessarily, but we'll see. It has the usual moveset of Sucker Punch, Kowtow Cleave, and Iron Head. However, I am also adding the move Grass Knot specifically against Great Tusk. Obviously, with the Earth moves and the Fighting moves, whichever he goes with, is going to do a lot of damage to me, so I'm going to use that Focus Sash to my advantage, get that Grass Knot up, and do a lot of damage, if not OHKO. I got a lot of investment in attack and HP, although I do have a little bit in special defense, just to tank a little bit more hits from, like the fire attacks of Iron Moth, or maybe the fairy attacks of Rabombi. You know, King Gambit's a heavy hitter. I've been using them every week because I think they're such a good mon that I don't see any reason not to. And hopefully this week, King Gambit will truly get the chance to shine. I've been saying that every single week, but maybe this week he will actually get to show off how awesome of a mon he is. Next up is Fairly Odd Parents, the Hatterene, and this is the first mod that's introducing my major strategy this week, which is Trick Room. That's why I am making a Trick Room team. Now, if you noticed, I have 0 investment in EVs in Samurai Jack, and I also have 0 investment in EVs and negative speed natures on every single Pokemon this week, because I am really going to be playing with Trick Room this week. So this moveset is Trick Room, Psychic, Draining Kiss, and Mystical Fire. Now, I had a Focus Sash on Samurai Jack. I also have a Focus Sash on Hatterene because I want to guarantee that Trick Room gets to go off. I don't want anything to potentially OHKO Hatterene. I do have investment in my defense and my special defense to help tank and attack, but most of my investment is in special attack. So, obviously, Magic Bounce will also be a very useful ability, although I don't mind if Rabombi brings in the Sticky Webs. Obviously, Rocks is going to be annoying, Stealth Rocks is going to be annoying, so maybe not that. But if I get Sticky Web up, that'll actually help my Trick Room strategy. So there's something to keep in mind. As for the rest of the moves, Psychic, obviously great against Iron Moth. Also, just a great stab move in general. Does a lot of damage. Draining Kiss, great fairy stab. Also, get some health back. And finally, Mystical Fire is going to be the major thing against Scizor. Mystical Fire is guaranteed with my special attack investment to OHKO Scizor, regardless of... I don't think they're going to have that big of a stats in defense to tank this. So, Mystical Fire is going to do a lot of damage, because that's good, because Scizor could be a major threat because of their priority is a great counter against my Trick Room. The priority steel move, I forgot the name of it, it's like Iron Punch or something like that, can kind of counteract my plan. So that's why I have a Mystical Fire to OHKO a Scizor. But Hatterene's not the only Trick Room Pokemon I have on my team, as you will see. Next up is Toys R Us the Farigiraf, the second Trick Room Pokemon on my team. So that way I don't have to rely on one Pokemon to help set up Trick Room. And just like Katarine, they are also very much invested in special attack, although they have just as much investment in defense and special defense and HP. Because I do want this thing to stick around, maybe not do as much damage, because they aren't as tanky as Hatterene is in comparison. But still, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, well, obviously Dazzling Gleam isn't stab, but Psychic is great stab, and Energy Ball is great counter to both Manaphy and Great Tusk, whichever one is on the field. And also Psychic can do a lot of damage to Great Tusk too, along with Iron Moth, and the like. Here's the major thing with Farigiraf compared to Hatterene. They have the ability Armor Tail, which prevents Mons from using Priority. So Priority is a major problem with the Trick Room team. But with our Armor Tail, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about Dragonite using E-Speed or Scizor using the Punch, because honestly, all I have to do is Armor Tail diffuses that. So that's great bring right there. Farigiraf is such a good Mon, honestly, and he's going to do a lot of damage this week. So yeah. 2 Trick Room Mons, and the rest of the team is going to help aid in the Trick Room by being slow as fuck, but bringing a lot of damage. So let's move on to the next heavy hitter this week. Next up, making their Draft League debut is My Little Pony, the Keldeo. Sorry. I'm going with the cartoon theme, and that was the most obvious one to go with. So their moves as Flip Turn, Surf, Aura Spear, and Icy Wind. Most of that is obviously invested in special attack, but I do have Flip Turn for momentum, just in case I want to get out of there quickly. But regardless, so I have a lot of investment in HP, and most of my investment is in special attack. Obviously, I want this thing to deal a lot of damage, and it can take out Great Tusk. It can take out Scizor with Aura Spear, also Great Tusk with Surf. It can also even potentially take out Dragonite with Icy Wind. So that's obviously why Icy Wind is there. Flip Turn is obviously for momentum. I have an Assault Vest on it, so it can be bulky as kind of bulky as a special defense. Keldeo's making their debut into this match, Week 4. They're the final mod of my original draft that has not made an appearance in the battle yet, but this feels like the perfect battle to bring Keldeo in. And hopefully they get the chance to show off their potential, because I do think this match really does benefit from having Keldeo on the team. Returning from last week's game is Scooby-Doo, the Hisuian Arcanine. They are a choice band set with Intimidate, not Rockhead, because I feel like Intimidate is going to be very helpful against Great Tusk. It's going to be helpful against Scizor. It has Will-O-Wisp to further cripple Great Tusk. Flare Blitz obviously is going to take some recoil because it doesn't have Rockhead, but still, that could obviously take out Scizor in one hit. Wall Charge to help deal with Manaphy, or a Terra Water Rhydon. That's also a potential obstacle that they might bring. Hope they don't, but they might bring that. And Psychic Fangs is another thing to greatly deal with Great Tusk. Obviously, most of my investment is in attack, have a decent amount of investment in HP. I also have a decent amount in defense and special defense, mainly defense, because I'm more worried about the ground moves from Great Tusk, or just the offensive stuff from like Dragonite or Scizor. But regardless, I'm not too worried. I think Arcanine can hit hard. It will obviously be able to take out Scizor. It'll do a lot of damage to Great Tusk. And while it might not get a kill, and it might go out to an Earthquake, I still think it will do a lot of damage before it goes down. Scooby-Doo will do a lot of damage, and I'm looking forward to that. And closing it off, for the 4th week in a row, we have Chowder the Clodsire. This Mon is just so... I've been bringing this Mon every week, and it is proving to be very important every week. The ability is Unaware again. I was contemplating Water Absorb to deal with the Manaphy, but I'm not doing that. And that being said, they might expect me to go Water Absorb, and so they won't they won't use Water Loose against Clodsire for that exact purpose. But I am more worried about Bulk Up Great Tusk, or Swords Dance Scizor, or Dragon Dance Dragonite, all these Mons with boosted up moves. That I'm more worried about than any potential water move, which, being as bulky as Chowder is, he can easily tank that, at least one, very well. And obviously with Trick Room, I can get a Toxic up, I can get Earthquake to help deal with Iron Moth, or most of the other mons, really. But also I got Poison Jab as well, this great stab, Poison Stab against Rabombi or Mimikyu. Overall, I think, I'm not bringing hazards this week. I'm not really worried about hazards. I'm more worried about maybe spraying some poisons, maybe getting a little bit of chip off, maybe just being super, super annoying to deal with. Because I think it walls Rabombi, it walls Scizor relatively well. It even walls Manaphy if they don't use a water move. So yeah, most of my investment is in HP. A little bit I'm definitely a plus attack nature to make sure those Earthquakes do some damage. But besides that, I also decently put some investment in defense as well. Maybe he's not as essential as previous weeks, but he is still an asset on the team, especially with Unaware as an ability. So that way I don't get completely swept by any of the mons that pops up. And also, obviously, I have a Shuka Berry, so it could tank one Earthquake, because obviously with Great Tusk on the field, and even Dragonite can learn Earthquake, I think, or some kind of ground move, I'm not sure which, but it's useful to have a Shuka Berry on, to tank one ground move, not get O-Code, and be able to get like a Toxic up instead. So yeah, while he might not be as essential as previous weeks, I do think Chowder, the Clodsire, will play an important role in this battle. But with that being said, we have our tricky Trick Room team set up, and let's get into it. Let's get the battle started, and let's go and see how this week's battle turned out. I'm so excited. Hello everybody, and welcome to today's battle. We're getting this started. I am Roy Johnson with the Toxicroaks on this side, and of course, DPPT Solar, aka the Disco Blacephalons on that side. The Disco Blacephalons have brought in a team that I was not expecting. They got Rabombi, Great Tusk, Scizor, Mimikyu, Dragonite, and Iron Moth. They have both Scizor and Dragonite, which was not something I was looking forward to. They got some of the mons I was expecting. Rabombi, Great Tusk. Iron Moth and Mimikyu were kind of 50-50. He's brought both of them, so I could see both of them being in the matchup. Yeah, this was already a pretty interesting team I'm seeing here. I'm not sure if I faced this exact team before, but regardless, this was before I go into it, this was a very interesting battle. So without further ado, let's go and let's just talk about how this battle went. Okay? Right away, I predicted perfectly that the Rabombi lead-in, they probably want to set up sticky webs of some kind, which I wouldn't have been opposed to, but I knew that this would frighten them. So I made such a good prediction here. Okay, so you're going to see what's happening here. They switched in. I thought they were going to U-turn, but that's fine. Booster Energy Attack. Will-O-Wisp. I predicted that switch into Great Tusk. So good. So freaking good. The Will-O-Wisp prediction was so good, because that crippled Great Tusk. That action cripples Great Tusk. Especially, they got the boost, the photosynthesis attack. That could have been bad, but the Will-O-Wisp, the burn there that was great. Right off the bat. Okay, obviously I'm going to switch in, and I switch it to Hatterene. Now, they were going to go for like an Earth attack, maybe a high horsepower or something like that, and my Hatterene is typically tanky enough to tank that hit. But I got the crit. I got the crit. Headlong Rush, got the crit. That did 75%. I think it would have done like around 34-ish. I'm not sure exactly, but it would have done less had the crit not happened. And that's not good, because obviously Hatterene was one of my Trick Room mons, and the whole strategy was built on Hatterene and Farigiraf, so having one of them potentially down was not great. I had no other choice. I couldn't really switch back into it, so I let it take the Headlong Rush, hoping he would go for any other move, but unfortunately, because the burn should have not done enough damage, but the crit happened, obviously, and obviously with as much health as I lost, down goes Hatterene, and I didn't even get a single Trick Room up so far, so that's not looking great. Going into this, that's not looking great. Obviously, I switched to Keldeo, and obviously they're going to switch back into Ribombee. Surf does a lot. Surf does a lot here. I will say, that did a lot of damage. I guess this wasn't a particularly specially defensive Ribombee set, so they didn't tank that Surf well. Now, they are fast enough to set up a light screen, and it turned out they had Light Clay, so that's going to stay around for a while. But luckily I was able to take out the Ribombee, so that was a major threat taken out. Shadow Claw's not going to do too much because I'm Assault Vest. The Surf was enough to break the Disguise. Mimikyu's so annoying because of that Disguise ability. And obviously Play Rough is going to take that Keldeo down. So there goes Keldeo in their debut battle. They did really well. They took out Ribombee. But that's Keldeo down for the count. Now for Rigraff is here, and luckily I was able to get that Trick Room set up with that switch-in, which was perfect. I got the Psychic up, which did so much damage. Unfortunately, not enough damage. But luckily with the burn, and also Toys R Us, the Rigraff is already neutral damage to fighting attacks because of its psychic nature. That's not going to do nearly as much as they think. I wish the burn could have gotten the kill. But that wasn't the case. I do a Psychic on Scizor. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any moves that could do that much damage, especially with the Light Screen. Oh, I'm not sure if the Light Screen does physical or special hits. I think it might have done special hits, because that definitely did less than it should have. But, regardless, it's not going to be enough. I switch in to save my Trick Room setter. I knew Clodsire could tank a close combat, and that's great. Not much I could do there. I could have gone for a Toxic predicting the switch, but I didn't know if they wanted to stay in on the Scizor, so I went for Earthquake, which was a very safe bet. Obviously, there goes, that did a lot of damage, I will say. There goes the Trick Room and the Light Screen, so that's good. I'm on both sides and bad on another way. But there goes Mimikyu. Clodsire actually got an actual kill, which was kind of crazy. Now, Great Tusk is dead this turn because of the burn. There's no way it's not going to be dead this turn because of that burn. Will it tank one more hit? It sets up Earthquake, which was surprising. So I go for Recover, and down goes Great Tusk. I'm in a better position than I was previously. Obviously, the Encore is problematic. I want to get a Toxic off on the Dragonite, because that would have been very helpful. But they set up the Encore, and this was something I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting an Encore Dragonite set. Now, I have mocked against an Encore Dragonite set. During my mocks, I did face one of these. But I didn't think Solar would go that route with their Dragon. If they were to use Dragonite, I didn't think they would go the Encore route. But, turns out he did. So, obviously, I switch out for Rigraff. He does Dragon Dance, which is very, very bad. Which is very, very bad, because I don't want this thing to set up and potentially sweep my team. So I go for, luckily he was able to tank a Dragon Claw. Obviously I go for Dazzling Gleam to do damage against the Dragonite. It's very smart switching to Scizor. Now, if this had been Hatterene, I would have had Mystical Fire to specifically deal with Scizor. Now, maybe I wouldn't have been able to tank the Bullet Punch, or whatever that Priority Steel move's called. But still, I don't know. It could have been something. Okay, so yeah, I think the Light Screen definitely had an effect, because that did way more damage than it did previously. The Psychic on the Scizor. But obviously I'm not going to live after this. But Scizor is down for the count there. And obviously I'm going for Harknine. Now, now the Intimidate's also going to be very helpful. Now, even if they switch, this thing's going down, and it very much, with the lowered attack, it definitely was not able to do that much damage to Scooby-Doo, and the Flare Blitz didn't have that much health to begin with, and honestly the recoil isn't even that much. Now Flare Blitz, I am Choice Band, so I am kind of stuck in Flare Blitz. Now I could have maybe switched back to get like the Thunder Punch in, which would have done more damage, but that was risky and honestly not worth it. I just decided to just let Scooby-Doo die here, and down goes Scooby-Doo. And down goes the Trick Room, so this is not a great situation going into this. Now, I have Clodsire, and I have King Gambit, and they have a Dragonite and an Iron Moth. Both Mons that could do great damage to my team that's currently here. So, this is not, looking at the situation from turn 21, it's not looking great for my side. It's 2v2, and the Mons it's not a great matchup so far. So I sent out Clodsire. it manages to tank an Earthquake with the Shuckaberry. Now, obviously, the Shuckaberry was more so for the Great Tusk, but I'm not complaining about it being used here to deal with the Dragonite, which also knows Earthquake. Dragonite's moveset in general is just insane. Dragonite, God, has so many good moves. It's crazy. Regardless, I do manage to get the Toxic off, and I'm definitely dead this next turn to the next Earthquake, which it does do. And, yep. Not much I can say there. There goes Clodsire. They did their role very well, and I think that the damage from a Dragonite that it did with the Toxic did make a difference. Now, this is not great, because Stealth Rocks is up, and I am sashed. So, obviously that little bit of chip damage ruined my sash strategy, so any attack could have the potential of taking me out. So, this was it, really. If I lose King Gambit here, this match is over. This match is over, and I lose. And this was such a close match. It's such a close match. But let's see what happens next. They go for Encore. It doesn't work. They predicted the Sucker Punch. I go for Kowtow Cleave, and there it goes with Supreme Overlord. 5 fallen allies. Kowtow Cleave does so much damage, just enough to get rid of Dragonite. I think they were predicting the Sucker Punch here, and it failed. But I went for the offensive. I went for Kowtow Cleave, just to do as much damage as I could, hoping to tank whatever attack Dragonite does, and I took it out. And this is where it gets really scary at this point. This was really bad. Okay, this was really... Going into this situation was super bad. Obviously, as you just saw, Iron Moth's booster energy is specifically special attack. Now, I did the calcs, and I think Fiery Dance is the move that Iron Moth learns. That does major fire damage, and obviously that fire damage will probably OHKO, will definitely OHKO, especially with the special attack boost. Normally, it wouldn't necessarily OHKO it. It would be a dice roll. I could survive it if the dice roll works in my favor, but obviously with a special attack boost, that it basically OHKOs. So if Iron Moth goes for the Fiery Dance here, that's pretty much it for my game. But let's see what happens. They go for Agility, predicting the Sucker Punch, and there goes the Kowtow Cleave, and there goes the victory! Jesus Christ, that end game was so scary. If I went for Sucker Punch in either of those last 2 turns, that could have been it for King Gambit. That could have been it, and that could have been really, really bad for my team. But there we go. We have our first victory since week 1. The score now is 2-2, and I have defeated the, as of yet, undefeated Mr. Solar and the Disco Blacephalons. I ended their winning streak, and in such a close manner, too. As you can see from the chat here, there was a bit of a discussion on why I didn't go for Sucker Punch, because it could have OHKO'd it. I argued I did the calcs. It was not going to OHKO. The Sucker Punch was not going to OHKO, so it wasn't even worth doing the risk. So I just, I could have said, I predicted he would try to bait the Sucker Punch. But, regardless, it was more so on my end. I wasn't actually predicting that he would go. I will be honest, I didn't necessarily predict that he'd predict I'd Sucker Punch, and I outsmarted him. It was more so I wanted to go for the offensive, and I just wanted to... I knew if he went for a fiery attack, I was dead anyway, so might as well go for the attack that would do the most chance of OHKOing, and I did, and it worked out, because I got the win in the closest match yet. The Trick Room didn't do as much as I would have liked, but I think it definitely made a difference to the team. I think he did not expect Trick Room in the slightest. I think that, along with all the other work I did, helped seal the victory for me. This was a great match. I think this was match of the week, honestly, for this week. It was so close. I played really well. It did suck that Hatterene had to die early, and I lost 1 Trick Room Mon. Hatterene could have done stuff in that battle, but regardless, that was a great match, and I have a victory again in the league. It's now 2-2. It's not a great standing, but it's a doable standing for getting into playoffs. And that's my goal for this league, is to get into playoffs. Will I win? Probably not, I'll be honest, but I'm determined to get into playoffs to prove that this team and my skills as a trainer can get into playoffs. So I'm looking forward to see how Week 5 does, and you might be expecting a future video in the future, because actually, after this week, I made a couple of changes to my team, which I'll be going over in another video. So, stay excited, get hyped. But with that being said, this is Roy Johnson, signing out. I hope you all enjoyed. This was a fantastic game. And with that being said, I'm signing out. Take care. Goodbye. See ya. And adios, muchachos. Have a fantastic day. And goodbye.